The story begins with a hardcore gamer named Kainchai. He spent day and night, morning and evening playing nothing but games. He was particularly hardcore, having wasted 3 years of his life trying to finish a single game. But he still wasn't satisfied as no game had reached his level. He thought to himself, "Man, what kind of crap am I playing? I need a game that's incredibly hard and it'll take me at least 10 years to complete it." Kainchai begins searching his computer for a game that's incredibly hard and extreme. But even after a long search, he can't find one. Suddenly, his computer starts glitching for some unknown reason. A game window opens on his screen stating, "This game is full of fantasy," and it offers several levels to choose from, such as easy, normal, hard, and hell mode. Kainchai had never heard of hell mode before, so he chooses hell mode because he's confused by the extreme difficulty. He's then presented with even more options, which class to choose: swordsman, shield, magician, or summoner. So he accidentally chooses the summoner class, hoping to get the extreme difficulty level, and it does. He was incredibly confident and excited about this. Suddenly, he clicks enter on his gaming window. Suddenly, there's a lightning bolt, and Kainchai finds himself in a new world, even though he was a child having just been born. Kainchai doesn't understand what's happening to him at all. But then he sees a strange man in front of him, and he takes him in his arms. Kainchai discovers that his name in this world is Alan. But Alan, too, was very happy to be incarnated in this world, because his old life was not at all good. He played games day and night, and even he was a 35-year-old unmarried mean man who wasted his entire life working. We then see Alan, finally 1 year old in this world. His father and mother were very good people. His father's name was Rodin, who was about 20 years old, and his mother was very beautiful, named Derja. But due to hardcore difficulties, Alan was born into a life and a family that was very poor. This means that their lives have become incredibly difficult. Alan was born in a frontline village near the kingdom, which was frequently at war. Even though the people there paid high taxes to the king and others, they had no reliable source of income. Alan truly loved his father and mother, and there was even a deep love between them. Alan thought to herself, "The day isn't far off when I'll have a sibling." At night, Alan's help would put him in a separate room to sleep, after which Alan would finally work on his things. Alan suddenly wakes up in the middle of the night and starts checking his stash, as he has somehow become both insane and powerful in this world. He repeatedly tries to open his stash window, but nothing happens. He tries to open his bed window again, but instead of a bed window, a grimoire had flown right up to him. He was shocked by this, so he screamed loudly. Hearing his scream, his mother and father quickly rush into his room. They discover that Alan was still asleep, and Alan had to do this reluctantly to prevent his secret from becoming known to his mother and father. His parents suspect that Alan must have had a nightmare. After their parents leave, Alan opens his grimoire, where a great deal of information about him and his abilities was written. Next, we see Alan, who is still in his room. He begins to read and write the grimoire, which contains all of his stats, including his summoner magic. Then he begins to learn and read a lot about his abilities, the summoner class. Alan was only a 1-year-old child, so he didn't have any MP mana points or anything else available. Alan realizes that he's still very young, so he can only summon small insects and beasts. Then Alan begins to recite some spells and mantras to summon some insects and other creatures. Alan tries very hard, even wasting all his MP on the item, but still, he can't summon anything. And then, after much effort, a crafting card suddenly emerges from the grimoire. In it, there was a picture of a strange grasshopper. He was about to try to summon it, but Derja had already arrived to help him. But Alan reluctantly had to pretend to be asleep, and he did, because his mana points had now been drained. The next morning, Alan tried to summon the crafting guard again. Suddenly, the grasshopper had been summoned from within the grimoire. Seeing this, Alan was terrified. He couldn't believe how such a large grasshopper had appeared on his face. But now, he was truly excited by the sight of the grasshopper. He tried to give it some orders, but the grasshopper simply rejected Alan's orders. Alan opened the grimoire again to learn more about his summoning magic, but nothing of the sort happens there. Alan then begins to read the same grimoire. Many things have changed. For example, his familiars, the people he summons, can grant him a large amount of energy points, ability points, and even other things. But first, he must give his familiars a name. Alan thinks hard and names the grasshopper Danka. He checks his stats and realizes that after summoning Danka, his stats have already increased slightly. Before he can celebrate, his mother suddenly appears in his room, and she sees Danka right in front of her. The sight of the grasshopper truly frightens her, so she makes a chutney of it with her feet. After a few days of practice, Alan summons a new creature, this time a mouse. He names it Mousy. But both Danka and Mousy were quite stupid, refusing to obey any of Alan's orders. But Mousy had a strange ability called Scurry, and with its help he could move really fast. Similarly, Alan would read his grimoire every day to study more about magic. He tried very hard to summon a creature that would obey his orders, but unfortunately he couldn't. That same afternoon, we see Alan's father running towards him, blood all over his clothes. But then he asks his son Alan, "Alan, do you want to see the monster I killed?" He says, "Yes, I do." Rodin takes Alan to his friends to show him the boar monster. They quickly move on, and Rodin tells Alan about the Elben bird, saying, "Alan, do you know I named you after this monster?" As Alan sees the massive boar monster, he's truly shocked as it's truly enormous. Alan begins to examine it and gather information about it. He realizes that this boar monster is truly dangerous. Even the boar monsters that exist are C-rank monsters. But then a strange man named Gerda arrives. And when Alan sees Gerda, he begins to introduce himself to him in a very pleasant way. Gerda is really shocked by this, because Alan is only a year old and he can speak and read quite well. "My daughter is your age, but she can't even speak properly." But then we see the others who are really excited now because it was Rodin who had destroyed the boar monster. So they start cheering for Rodin, and after about 10 months, Alan receives some very op news. He learns that his summon level has finally reached level 2. This means that he now has enough summon parts, creatures, and crafting cards. This means he can summon many more creatures. After dinner that night, Alan takes his grimoire back to his room to summon a new creature. Alan first looks at his grimoire, where he sees that his MP points are maxed out. But he still can't summon any creatures. But then he sees in his grimoire that he now has access to a new type of magic. Fusion magic, which allows him to combine 2 creatures to create a single creature. After some time, Alan has finally reached 3 years old. He even has a lot of mana points. He opens his grimoire and tries his fusion magic again. Suddenly his fusion magic is complete and he summons a bird. He names it Chappie. Chappie has a strange ability called voice mimicry, meaning it can mimic anyone's voice. This is a pretty cool ability. I can use it to trap enemies. Along with Chappie, Alan had also summoned there a Moppy, which can dig very deep tunnels, and a frog, which has the power to jump very high. It was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Just then, Alan's only friend, Krina, arrives to play with Alan and they begin a sword fight together. Krina's swordsmanship skills were truly formidable, but poor Alan was unable to do anything and he lost. In the evening, Alan's parents arrived to pick him up. Alan learned that his mother was pregnant and could no longer do any farming work. So Alan went to his parents and told them, "Mom's belly is so big now. That's why I'm going to help you with the farming." But then his father told him, "No, you're just a child right now. Enjoy your childhood because you'll have to do farming anyway." But now, Alan was incredibly excited by this. However, Alan reluctantly had to agree to what his parents said. And then Derja tells Alan, "We're going to be very much looking forward to your April ceremony." But Alan didn't know anything about the April ceremony. But then her parents tell her that in this world, when a child turns 5, a ceremony is held for them so that everyone can know about their talent. And now they have complete faith in Alan, that Alan will definitely make them rich, and now winter has also arrived. But Alan was playing with her Danka. Suddenly her mother arrived. Alan in her hurry couldn't hide Danka. Seeing Danka, she was truly terrified and fell to the ground. Just then, Rodin came running over, and Krina was also there, and Rodin realized the baby could come out at any moment. He told Krina to hurry and call her mother. A short while later, Gerda and his wife Mithilda arrived, but then Mithilda kicked everyone out of the room because they needed some free space. Morning came and they heard the crying. Alan knew that his little brother had arrived in this world, and Rodin named him Mash. Alan realizes that the world is truly beautiful to him, and his sole purpose now is to give his new family a good life and make them rich. But he doesn't know how he will ultimately achieve all this. After a few years, Alan finally turns 5 years old, so he begins to look forward to the April ceremony with his father, Rodin. They begin their journey together, and today will be the day when Alan and his family will discover that Alan has the summoner class, allowing him to summon various types of magic. Next, we see Rodin as he begins to talk to Alan about the ceremony. He says to him, "Alan, do you know if you have any talent? We'll find out about it at the April ceremony, and maybe we'll even get a little richer because of it. But we're going to meet a lot of kids there because the competition at your level is very high." Next, we see them start moving forward, trying to get to the April ceremony as quickly as possible. They were moving forward, but then they met Krina and her father, Gerda. Alan was really excited by this because Krina was her only friend in the world. They finally reached the city. Alan, along with her father and Krina, had arrived in the city where they met the other children. Alan realizes that they were truly very poor, because all the children there were wearing very nice clothes except for Alan and the others. They used to call them low class or serfs. They move forward so that they can reach the church as quickly as possible, where their April ceremony is to be held, and the other common people were staring at them intently, not wanting the low-class children or serfs to move ahead. Next, we see those same children and they have finally reached the church, but then some church members arrive. They welcome them and tell them, today, with the help of the god of creation, Olympia, we are going to find out the land of your children. Everyone was really excited to hear this, and Alan had already told Alan about Olympia. Olympia was none other than the developer of the game, who created it and was revered by everyone in the game as a god. They finally reached the church room, where Alan saw a photo of the developer, God Olympia, before his eyes. They had actually created a large statue of the game's developer. Then, the church members explained to the others how the April ceremony would work. Alan then realized that it was Olympia who had given him the letter in his previous life. Then they began their respective April ceremonies for their children. First, a church member arrives and tells them, "We'll bring each child here one by one, and they'll discover their magical attributes and other things by touching this crystal ball." We first see a child named Palomas who was the village chief's son. He steps forward looking really scared, but then he places his hand on the crystal ball. Suddenly, it begins to glow. Later, the church members tell Palomas' father that his son has the talent to be a merchant. Palomas' father was truly excited to hear this, because it's quite rare for a child to have such a talent. And just by touching the magical crystal, the child's stats became visible to the other children. But then we see Alan, and he was having a blast because he already knew about his class and his talent, which was summon magic, so he was in a completely chill mood. He takes out his grimoire and starts writing down every single piece of information inside it, but no one else can see Alan's grimoire. Then we see another child. He touches the crystal ball again to find out about his talent. But the crystal ball doesn't glow. This means the child didn't have any talent, so he goes back to his father crying, "It's okay, you did well." Next up is a child named Dagora. He steps forward and touches the magical ball. Suddenly his stats are now visible to the others, and he actually has the talent of an axeman, meaning he can wield axes quite well. This was the first time anyone had a magical attribute and magical stats of a rank. Everyone was really excited to see this. Even Dagora's father is incredibly proud of him. And slowly, all the children are discovering their magical talents and other things. All the children were overjoyed to see this. But that doesn't happen to everyone. Then we see that it's Krina's turn. She runs to touch the magical crystal, places her hand on it, and suddenly the ball starts glowing brightly. Anyone can understand what's going on, and even Gerda is worried about his daughter. He moves on, but then the rest of the church is truly shocked by her talent. Later, they discover that Krina doesn't have any ordinary talent. Rather, she possesses the most powerful planet in the entire world. This means that Sword Lord's talent and stats are far superior to those of the other children. Even the rest of the church is shocked by this. They couldn't understand how the children of such poor people could reach such heights. And now Alan was very happy for him. But finally, it was Alan's turn and he touched the crystal ball with his hands, but nothing happened. He tried again. Suddenly, the ball began to glow very brightly, and its light even knocked Alan back. Rodden quickly returned to the others, and just then the church members told Rodden, "Your son has no talent." Even Alan himself was shocked by this. He looked at his stats, but nothing was right. All his attributes were at rank. There was definitely some glitch in his stats. That's why he started cursing the game's developer. He thought to himself, what kind of game is this? There must be some kind of bug. But then Rodden comes to Alan and offers some comfort. Alan doesn't quite understand what's happened to him. So he goes back home where his family members offer some comfort. But then we see Alan again at night, and he's thinking about himself with him grimoire open. He can't quite understand what's running with him. Maybe I chose hell mode. That means I have to work much harder than the rest of them to catch up. And now, the next morning, Alan's family leaves for Krina's house to celebrate her Sword Lord talent. They share and start partying. Everyone is overjoyed that Krina has a talent that is so highly valued. Meanwhile, Mithilda arranges some alcohol for them. Everyone is overjoyed except for Rodden. He tells Gerda that it's just the two of them who should party. Alan wonders if his father is jealous because only Krina has the swordsmanship talent, while his son, Alan, has none. But Alan knew his father well. He knew something was definitely going on. Next, we see Gerda and Rodden. They start arguing and even come to blows. Everyone is deeply shocked by this. But then their wives arrive and calm them down by beating them up. Later, they tell Alan and Karen that they were all childhood friends. They discovered the village together and even built their homes together. But then we see Rodden. He starts telling Gerda, "Your daughter Karen has a great talent. Because of that, she could become a knight, even a noble one day. That's why I want you to stop wasting your time talking to your family and families like ours who are all surfers." But then Gerda tells him, "Are you crazy?" They were working together. But then a man comes running up to Gerda and tells him, "Knights is calling your daughter." So, despite not wanting to go, they have to continue on towards the city. Both Gerda and Rodin had already moved on towards the city. But just then a boy named Dagora had arrived to Alan. He asked him, "What are you doing here?" But he couldn't say anything. Krina, however, was furious with Dagora. Just then the kingdom's knights began advancing toward the city. Everyone was shocked by their arrival, and even the knights' captain Zenoff had arrived. He continued onward. He told Gerda and the village chief, "I heard there's a sword lord in this world." Gerda says, "Yes, you heard right, she's my daughter." Krina had also arrived, rushing over. But then Zenoff told them, "It seems this 5-year-old girl is the sword lord, but I don't believe what you're saying, that's why I have to test her myself." What kind of test? Everyone was shocked by Zenoff's words. They realized what test Knight Captain Zenoff was talking about. But then Zenoff said back to them, "I don't trust this girl or you guys at all. That's why I want her to duel one-on-one with one of my men." Gerda and the others were furious, because Krina was only 5 years old, and Zenoff was asking them to duel one-on-one with Vice Commander Leibrand, who possessed some awesome powers. But now they had no other options, so Krina, despite her reluctance, had to duel him one-on-one. Vice Commander Leibrand stepped forward and Krina came in from behind. They began dueling each other. But Vice Commander Leibrand faces no trouble. We return to Krina. She begins to attack him one after another, but then Leibrand cheats in their match. He suddenly kicks Krina hard, throwing her backward. Gerda and Alan are enraged by this, but the other knights hold them back. We return to Krina. Suddenly, a green aura begins to emanate from her. Zenoff realizes that this girl has awakened her extra skill, and Krina has become truly powerful. She begins to attack the Vice Commander one after another, until the Vice Commander is unable to withstand her attacks at all. Krina finally breaks his sword. Zenoff declares the match is over. Everyone is overjoyed at Krina's victory. Zenoff approaches Gerda and says, "I'm sorry, I doubted your daughter, but I want to discuss this girl's future with you. If you don't believe me, you can bring your friends." In the evening, they meet at the village chief's house. Zenoff introduces himself, explaining that he was sent there by his master to find out if there is a sword lord there, and now he has complete knowledge of this matter. He tells the village chief, "A sword lord has been born in your village. That's why I want you to change the name of your village to Krina Village." Gerda and the others were truly shocked to hear this. Zenoff tells them that 3 years ago, a child, the Sword Lord, also took care of the royal family, but he wasn't successful in his work. That's why the knights repressed him. They discovered that he wasn't a sword lord, but just an ordinary swordsman. That's why, from that day on, the knights decided that whoever becomes sword lord will have to undergo a test of their own. Zenoff tells Gerda that when Krina turns 12, she will have to go to the magical academy, and after that she can work with the royal family. But then a child named Dagora asks, "Can we also go to the magical academy?" Krina says, "Yes, we'll all go to the magical academy. Even Alan will come with us." But this boy is talentless. Alan doesn't understand why this stupid girl is talking, because in reality he's 40 years old and his intelligence is far superior to theirs. But then we see Zenoff. He asks Alan and his father, "Who are you guys?" Rodin introduces himself and his son to Zenoff. But Zenoff already knew Rodin. He tells him, "This means you're the boar hunter, Rodin. I'm very happy to meet you, and my master really enjoyed the meat you gave me. And I've heard that you play a very important role in boar hunting." Then Alan realizes that his father is truly a superstar. After saying this, they head back home. Alan realizes that he started this game in hell mode, but now he must complete it no matter what. And now, after a few years, Alan's summoning skill had finally leveled up. Seeing this, Alan was truly shocked. He even gained a new type of enhanced ability, and his summons were much stronger. His summons had even been upgraded from G rank to F rank, and his fusion magic had become truly awesome. Alan began to think to himself, "This is truly epic." He thought to himself, now he has to summon this dragon no matter what, and he was truly hyped up about it. His inventory level had now increased from 20 to 30. Guess I'll have to experiment with this. We check on Alan at night. He was sitting with his parents having a relaxing dinner. And there we also see Alan's parents. With Alan's help, Derja had become pregnant again. This meant Alan was going to have a sibling again. That's why Alan had taken over the entire household, because he had already become a part of this world and was very interested in all these things. Gradually, Alan was becoming stronger. But then Derja tells Rodin, "It seems we're going to have a girl this time. Have you thought of a name for her?" But then Alan opens her grimoire once again and starts seeing new things. But then he accidentally sees the god of this world. He takes the name of the god of the dead. His parents tell him, "Alan, we shouldn't just take God's name like that." Alan asks his father, "Is your hand healed?" Actually, Rodin had also increased his level by now in what they call the Trial of the Gods. He always went boar hunting, and today he finally increased his level. Even his biceps had become much stronger. Alan starts wondering when he'll finally level up. Even his summoning magic has become much stronger, but his other magic is still at level 1 and level 2. Later, he realizes that if he wants to collect more XP, he'll have to go monster hunting. But he's a safe being. That means he's much poorer. Therefore, being poor, he cannot leave the village nor can he go monster hunting. So he asks his father, "Father, please, can I go monster hunting with you?" But then Rodin tells him, "No, you can't. This isn't a game." At night, after everyone has gone to sleep, Alan opens his grimoire. He sees that he has received a letter from the game's developers, as he had already sent them several messages about their glitch. Alan begins reading the message, which states that the glitch has finally been fixed. Alan's stats and other abilities have been significantly enhanced. His mana points have reached S rank, and his intelligence has also reached S rank, and his other stats have also reached a rank in C rank. He even had a new ability, the enchanting ability. He could now buff his summons. This meant he could significantly enhance their power levels and other things. So, as an experiment, he summoned Danka there. Danka was already summoned. As he looked at his skill card, he saw that Danka had indeed gained a lot of amazing abilities. He was even glowing, and his stats were significantly buffed. But then Therja appeared and destroyed Danka once again. The next morning, Alan was busy doing household chores, but he was still thinking about his magic attributes and other things. But then Therja tells him to say goodbye to his dad because he's going hunting. After saying that, Rodin also left for hunting. But then Alan goes back to his garden. He remembers that his summoning magic has been greatly enhanced, but he hasn't yet learned to use any fusion magic. He's tried fusion magic many times, but he hasn't yet found any new creatures. So he tries fusion magic one last time. He fuses 2 creatures with a rank of F and suddenly his fusion magic works. He gets a new card and sees that the creature's level is also F, but it's just a grass and Alan is a little disappointed by it. What a grass? But then he checks the grass's stats and discovers that its level and stamina have indeed been significantly boosted. Seeing this, Alan is overjoyed. So he has the grass removed from in front of him and now it's ready to be eaten. But the grass looks more like an apple than a tree and Alan is quite shocked by this. "Well, I guess I'll have to name you first. You look like a shape, so I'll call you Aroma." Aroma shows Alan his stamina window. "It seems you're not cut out for a fight." Alan tells Aroma to use his ability. Suddenly, we see Aroma transformed into a sapling, whose power is that he can transform into any sapling and produce a very pleasant smell. But then Alan's mother appeared from behind. Alan was at a loss for what to do. She told Aroma to disappear quickly, but Aroma refused to listen. Just then, Krina had also arrived to play with Alan. They practiced fighting every day and Krina would beat Alan, and as usual, Alan lost. Alan looked at his grimoire and later realized that his sword skill had now reached level 3. He wondered if the previous Aroma skill had made any difference to his stats. He checked his stats and later realized that with the help of Aroma, his mana was healing much faster. Alan remembered that he also had a fighting-type creature, but it wasn't as good, but it was a wolf. In the evening, Alan went back to practicing throwing, but despite his best efforts, his level still hadn't increased. This left him somewhat demotivated. "If I want to increase my level, I'll have to endure this because I've played this game in hell mode anyway." At night, Alan and her mom were waiting for Rodin, but he hadn't arrived yet. Then they heard a strange noise outside. They ran outside, where they saw Gerda and the others carrying Rodin on their shoulders. They saw that Rodin was seriously injured. Later, Gerda told them that a boar monster had caused his condition. Rodin was now seriously injured. He wasn't even in a condition to walk outside. Gerda told them that they had found a mule flower in the forest, which helped them heal him. Actually, that flower is so rare that it can heal even a few people. But then Rodin's friends and the others start talking. It's all those corners' fault, and after saying this, they all leave. But then Gerda goes to Alan and tells them everything that happened. "If those commoners hadn't come with us, Rodin and I would have killed that boar." Alan asks Uncle Gerda, "What are you trying to say?" "The village chief gave us a mission to take some corners on our boar hunting so they could enjoy our hunt. But those combiners are pretty nasty. They had no power. We were hunting comfortably. But then that crazy boar attacked these combiners and Rodin got seriously injured trying to save them. And ever since Xenoph praised Rodin, all the combiners have been burning Rodin's convoys, and Rodin and his teammates had to do this at Chief's behest." Gerda tells them what happened. When they were practicing before the hunt, the combiners weren't taking them seriously, and neither were they practicing. During the hunt, when that boar monster attacked them, they abandoned the mission mid-mission. Despite not wanting to leave, Rodin had to come to protect them, leaving Rodin severely injured. Gerda tells them, "You have to stay strong for him." Now Alan starts to think to himself, "What am I doing? I'm a hardcore gamer. But this isn't a game for my mother, father, and even my brother, it's their lives. He's working so hard in his life and I'm just treating it like a game. It seems I have to do something too." And now Alan is completely motivated. He tells his parents, "From now on, I'm going to take care of all the household chores." His parents are truly shocked. We then see Alan. Early in the morning, he goes to the well to help his family and his parents a little, and he begins to carry water from there. Everyone is truly shocked by his power. They had been there, and no one believed that a small child could have so much power. Next, he goes to the garden to gather food for himself and his family for the winter. He goes to Gerda's, where Gerda teaches him how to harvest potatoes. He harvests a lot of potatoes, one after the other, but this harvesting wasn't enough for his family. Just then we see Chief and the others who had arrived to apologize to Rodin. Chief meets Rodin and says, "Now I'm sorry, Rodin. I had no idea this would happen. This was the man who left your team. I'm sorry, I was so scared." Rodin says, "It's okay, don't do this again." Then the rest of Rodin's friends have arrived. They tell Rodin, "Come on, we'll play boar hunting again." Now Alan realizes that he's grown up. He has to do a lot for his family. He goes to an empty field and mows down all the grass. He then takes out his grimoire and uses his summoning magic to summon some frogs. His summoning magic has also increased slightly. He summons about 50 frogs so that they can bring a large creature there, kill it, and collect its meat so they can have some food for the winter. Now, Alan's frogs also start hooting. They use their power to bring a creature there so Alan can kill it and collect its meat. But even after a long wait, nothing happens. But then Alan sees a bird flying in the distance and he's truly overjoyed. The bird arrives and it's none other than Alba, a B-rank monster. Alan can't believe such a strong monster has arrived. The bird begins to kill Alan's frogs one by one. Meanwhile, we see Alan, who realizes that his skills have been greatly enhanced and moves to kill the bird. But Alba knocks it away with a single blow. Alan doesn't stop there. He summons his wolf as well, but the bird is truly powerful. It destroys all the wolves one by one, and now Alan has no choice. Alan has become quite weak now, as the Alba has killed all the creatures he had considered his own. It seems this is the nurse's drawback, and then Alba moves forward to finish Alan off. Is this where my journey is going to end? Alan, already quite frightened by Alba, was indeed very powerful. He begins to attack Alan. Alan was about to lose the match, but then he gets an idea. He uses his summoning magic to summon some suckers. As soon as they see Alba, they attack him and begin sucking his blood and other things. Seeing the opportunity, Alan once again unleashes his dogs on Alba. His dogs now attack the Alba. Seeing the opportunity, Alan himself attacks the Alba. He attacks it with his sword. Finally, the Alba is finally finished. Seeing this, Alan is truly overjoyed. Later, the system announces that he has killed an Alba, earning him 100 XP points. This is quite interesting. After killing the Alba, Alan takes the meat home. All the villagers are truly shocked by this. Even Gerda, Rodin, and the others can't believe that such a small child has killed such a large monster. Because whoever the Alba is, they are rank D monsters which are truly powerful. But then Krina had also come to Alan and Rodin had no control over his eyes. He can't believe it. He asks Alan, "Did you really fight him and kill him?" But Alan didn't want his secret to be known. That's why he tells his father, "Oh no, I just saw Alba sitting there and I grabbed him by the butt from behind and killed him." Gerda was shocked to see Alba. He tells the boy, "You're really strong." Gerda notices some bite marks on Alba's body, but Alan tells him, "It seems they got them while fighting." Gerda was quite shocked. They were talking to each other, but then Alan noticed a strange injury on the back of Gerda's head, and somehow he realized that Krina had become very strong. Gerda and Alan set off to extract the Alba's blood, where Gerda begins to tell Alan about the Alba. He explains that these Alba birds weigh approximately 60 kilograms. But as the blood is drained, their weight drops from 60 kilograms to 20 kilograms. They must also pay the chief a 60% tax on the meat, even the magical stone. This shocked Alan as their village was extremely poor, yet the chief still charged them a 60% tax. But then Alan gets an idea. He tells Gerda, "I have a plan." After saying this, they go to the village chief to pay the tax. The village chief tells them, "Wow, you did a great job. Now I want a 60% tax on this, and on top of that, I also want the meat from this Alba." But Gerda and Alan had already made a plan. So they start to execute it. Right there, we see Gerda, who starts acting and saying, "Alan, your father, our village hero named Rodin, who killed that boar master earlier, is so badly injured that his family can't find anything to eat. I wonder where they'll go because of the 60% tax." Hearing this, the chief feels a little guilty, and we see Alan as well. He starts acting and says, I haven't eaten anything in 7 days. I'm very hungry. Somehow, the chief feels pity for them. That's why he only charges them a small amount of tax. Later, Alan tells the chief, even if we hunt in the future, you'll still charge us less tax. The chief is stunned. He tells him, no kid, what are you saying? I only took this offer for today. But then they start acting again. Next, we see Alan. After a few months, he goes back to the same field and summons some frogs. Their greed had already brought some Alba monsters there. Then Alan executed his plan, unleashing stalkers on them. Meanwhile, he summoned his wolf monster and began pelting them with stones, causing the Alba's MP and HP points to plummet. Finally, he destroyed the 2 Alba monsters. His grimoire announced that he had now leveled up from level 1 to level 2. He looked at his stats and other amplitudes, which had increased significantly. Alan said, I'm having a lot of fun with this hard code word. I'll max my level as soon as possible. Now Alan goes back to his house, where Rodin is quite surprised to see that Alan has killed 2 monsters this time. Next, Alan goes to Krina, where they begin a sword fight. But Alan wasn't interested in sword fighting at all. He starts thinking to himself, winter is coming to our village, so I think I'll have to make some trades so our people can get some wood. Now that those Alba monsters are about to migrate, I have a very good chance of killing them, so my goal will be to somehow raise my level to level 3. That evening, Alan goes to his parents to tell them his story. That he's not useless, but that he also possesses some unique powers. He tells them, when I was 1 year old, Lord Elimia made a prophecy about me and gave me the Trial of God. Trial of God means leveling up. Rodin and Therja listen intently. Alan then begins to tell them all sorts of things. That he has more stamina than everyone else, a bigger sword, and more MP and HP points than everyone else. Therja and Rodin are utterly shocked by this. But then his parents ask him again, if you have a prophecy and a power given by God, why didn't people see your talent at the ceremony? Alan replies that God hasn't yet told him what his talent really is. Therja, overcome with emotion, hugs Alan and says, Alan, I knew you could have so much power and you're taking the trial of God alone. If you need anything, you can call us. Alan begins to think, sorry mom, dad, I can't tell you that I'm a summoner, that I can control and summon other animals and other people. And I can't even tell you that I've been reincarnated into this new world. And then Rodin says to Alan, Alan, don't tell everyone else that you have powers. Otherwise, they'll think we messed up on the day of the ceremony. But I'll definitely tell Gerda about this, because he's been flaunting his daughter's status as a sword lord. So I'll flaunt it too. Alan says, okay dad, you can do it. We then see Alan, who has finally turned 6. As soon as Gerda approaches him, he's completely shocked by his powers and everything else. He tells him, Alan, I heard you received a prophecy from God. Is that true? Yes, that's absolutely true. Alan goes with Gerda to the city to stay there and treat the supplies. But then Alan asks Gerda, can you tell me what the difference is between a suffer and a commoner? He tells him that commoners are of a very high class and pay very little tax. But then Alan asks him, can you tell me how one becomes a commoner? Well, I don't know much about it, but I've heard from some stories that the chief converts people to commoners as a gift, and if you want to become a commoner, you have to collect 10 gold coins for each person, he says. Then Alan calculates this in his mind. I have 5 people in my family, that means I need to collect 50 gold coins. They then proceed towards the city, where they visit various shops and trade the same Alba meat for salt. They continue on. Alan has now begun to learn many new things about the city and trading. He learns that 1 gold coin is worth 100 silver coins. Next, he goes to a medicine shop where the owner tells him, where can I find healing medicine? He replies, you can go to the back. You'll find everything there. Alan also goes there and takes out his grimoire. Later, he learns that his grimoire can also paint. They begin to converse. Alan asks the shopkeeper, do you have a music flower? Hearing this, the shopkeeper becomes very angry and tells him, even if I had that flower, I would never have given you a discount or given you that medicine. Alan asks him if he has a problem with Gerda, who had bought the same flower a month earlier. He says, yes, I do have a problem with him because the flower was worth 5 gold coins, but one night he came running to me and asked for help. He started begging for money, and that's why, despite my reluctance, I had to sell him the flower for 3 instead of 5 gold coins. Now Alan hears this, so he gives the shop owner the Alba meat as a gift. Thank you very much because your help saved my father's life. Now he goes a little further and sees Dagora and his father's shop. But as soon as Dagora sees Alan, he becomes very angry and pushes him down. But then Alan asks him, what are you doing? But Dagora starts bullying him. Now Alan has no other option. So despite his reluctance, he has to fight him. They start fighting each other. They can also see Palomas on the side. Dagora attacks him, but Alan threw his weapon into the air and said, look, I've won. Seeing this, Dagora became furious again. But then Alan told him, I'll definitely come to your shop one day. But to do some trading, Alan now returns to his village where Rodin is slowly healing. We then see the story some time later where we see Dagora and Pelomas. They too begin training with Alan and Krina. Even Alan's younger brother, Mash, begins training with Krina. He tells his brother, Big Brother, I'm having a lot of fun training, and 2 years from now, Mash's April ceremony will be held where everyone will learn about his talent. And then we see that Alan now has a new little sister named Miola. It's late at night and Rodin and Gerda have finally returned home, but they're very sad and in a very serious mood. Later, they explain to the others why they're so sad. The chief has told them that they'll need some commoners to accompany them on this boar hunt, and the chief will need about 20 or 10 boar meters, which is truly terrifying because hunting a boar is no child's play. If they can't do that, the Rodin will recruit more boars to their village, leaving them with no land left to live on or anything else. Now they're deeply confused about what they're going to do next. But then Alan tells the people, look, I have God-given wisdom. That's why you have to trust me and do only what I say. So they too agree with him. The next day they go to meet the commoner and there we see the same commoners, but they were very angry with them. Rodin, you healed quite quickly. Well, I took a long time to heal. So is this kid going to come hunting with us? Rodin says, yes, his name is Alan and he's my son. He's also going to come hunting with us, and it's his strategy that we're going to use to destroy today's boar monster. But then we look at Alan and Alan starts thinking to himself, I wish my dad would give me the chance to hold the spear. But I won't be able to do that because I don't want to see anyone in that condition. And then we see Rodin, and then a strange man comes to him who is none other than a commoner, a new baby. He says to Rodin, Master Rodin, forgive me for the past accident. Nothing like this will happen again. It's okay, just be careful. Then we see Alan and the others. They finally start to hunt boar. But as Alan moves forward, he sees Wire Dragon Mountain in front of him, and according to ancient beliefs, a very large dragon lives inside this mountain. Seeing this, Alan becomes even more excited. But then the others say, hey Alan, come here quickly. Now they have finally reached the 4S where they were supposed to hunt. First, Gerda and Rodin tell the others to do what they've practiced. Now we'll do the same. Quickly, everyone get into position and they do the same. But then we hear something. We see the men behind whom the boar monster has finally arrived. As soon as the boar monster arrives, the tank team moves forward and holds it off, while Rodin's team moves forward and finally begins to attack it. Meanwhile, we see Alan ordering the newbies to leave, saying, your time has come. The rest of the newbies move forward and finally destroy the boar monster for the first time in their lives, leaving everyone overjoyed. Even the newbies felt like they had cleared the trial of gods and were starting to get really excited. But then we see Alan again. He looks at his grimoire to see if his stamina has finally increased. He opens his grimoire. But then he notices that nothing like that happened there. And that's because Alan didn't participate in the war at all. That's why neither her stings nor anything else are growing. And that's where we see Alan and the others. They go to a well where she starts drawing water. But then Alan says to some people, please guys, I want to participate in the fight. Can you explain this to my dad too? They says, no, we can't because if we tell Rodin this, he'll kill us. One of the men even survived. So Alan brings him over and shows him some alba meat. He asks him, can you extinguish these things? He nods. Now we see the same bear as he begins his work and Alan is thinking to himself, my parents work very hard. So I have to earn 50 gold coins for them, no matter what. And Alan had to do something about these things anyway. So if he could find a bear in the village, all this would be very profitable for him. Next, we see the rest of the villagers, who are now back in the forest to hunt boars, and Alan begins to think. I can understand why Chief needs so much meat because he has no shortage of meat at all. He was thinking about this, but then a boar monster appeared there. First, the bed team distracts him, then the tank team approaches and holds him back, then the strike team kills him, and finally the new seeds arrive, completely eliminating boar. This entire strategy belongs to none other than Alan. The others were overjoyed and we return to Alan. He looks at his grimoire where he discovers that his stats have increased significantly. He's even finally leveled up, reaching level 3. This was because Alan had summoned his Danka at the very beginning of the hunt and boar had destroyed him in just 2 seconds. Alan had already received some stashes and other supplies. But now poor Danka is no longer in this world, so he says, I'm sorry Danka. We then see the story 3 months later. We see Alan and Krina returning from Chief's house, having completed their trade, having now completed their quota of killing 15 boar monsters. They return to their village where they begin partying into the night. Gerda, Rodin, and the others are also there. Everyone begins to party, but then suddenly Gerda notices a bottle of liquor behind Alan. He asks, kid, what's this? Well, this is a gift from Chief to me. Alan has been waiting for this very moment. He starts talking to Krina and Mash, but then we see Rodin and Gerda. As soon as they see the bottle of liquor, they are so excited that they can't control themselves. That's why they say to Alan, "Please, kids, give us that bottle." But Alan tries to take advantage of them. He tells them, "Okay, I'll give you this gift anyway. But in return, you'll have to play a game with me. If you win, I'll give you this bottle. But if you lose, you'll have to take me on a boar hunt and use the sphere." "Okay," they says, "we're perfectly okay with a few conditions." "But what game are we going to play?" Alan says, "Arm wrestling." And hearing that, they were overjoyed because they thought Alan was just a kid and wouldn't have that much power. And Alan's level had already reached level 6. First, Gerda arrived to arm wrestle. They both began to arm wrestle. But Alan was super strong, so he easily defeated Gerda. Now it was Rodden's turn. Rodden also started arm wrestling with him, but Rodden is truly a beast. That's why he defeats Alan in a split second. Alan thinks, "My father has become much stronger. I think his attack is somewhere around 300. Then they start partying. But after drinking, he's really become a nerd. And then Gerda starts misbehaving with Mithilda. Mithilda is furious, so she hits him with a super axe. It seems Aunt Mithilda has C-rank attack skills, and Alan is now 7 years old, and even his summoning magic has leveled up. He now has several E-rank summoning cards. He checks his grimoire and sees that he has a little extra space there. He's also gained a significantly buffed magic ability, and his MP and HP points have become quite awesome, and now his card inventory can hold 10 more cards. He thinks, if I keep leveling up and gain buffed magic abilities, maybe one day I'll even be able to beat Dad in arm wrestling. And now he starts looking ahead to his grimoire. He discovers that he has a strange magical ability, storage magic. He flips through his grimoire page and there he sees a strange black hole. He initially has no idea what it is. But then he starts throwing a lot of dirt, stones, and wood into the black hole because he had no idea what it was. He examines it and later realizes that it's indeed a storage item and he can put anything in it. But then he starts to wonder, have I found a strange item? Why would the game developers have given me this? Storage skills are a skill for goatiers and they're quite rare. So Alan begins to wonder, why would they have given me the storage ability? Because in games, nothing is available until you need it the most. Why would I need a storage ability? Alan goes outside to summon something with magic and summon some E-rank summons. He opens his grimoire and tries to summon something, but nothing is summoned. He thinks to himself, my MP points have increased completely. Why are these people not being summoned? He looks in his grimoire and it says he doesn't have an E-rank magical stone, so he can't summon any. He wonders, where am I going to find a magic stone? He goes back into his house and suddenly finds a place where he had collected some money and some magical stones. He goes forward and takes a few of the magic stones with him. He goes outside and starts using summoning magic again, but nothing happens. Later, he throws the magical stone into the black hole and activates his summoner once again. Suddenly, his magic has activated and a butterfly has appeared. "Butterfly, I choose you." And that butterfly was quite large, but suddenly Alan's mother was there, and Alan reluctantly had to hide her summons behind him. Alan was overjoyed to see his summons. It was done. But then we suddenly see Alan. A strange tiger has appeared in front of him and Alan is terrified by the sight. But it turns out to be a summoned beast, a creature he named Tama. He checks its stats and they're truly awesome. Then we look back at Alan and he says to himself, I think I'll have to try a little fusion magic. He tries to fuse a butterfly and a Tama, but nothing works. So he uses a magic stone and finally he suddenly gets a bird. And in the evening, Alan asks his dad, why don't the horn rabbits come to our village anymore? Because we've put a protection barrier around the village, so no horn rabbits come here. Alan was very saddened by this because only by using the horn rabbit could he collect some magic stones. But now he doesn't have any horn rabbits. Now we see the other children. They start training among themselves. But then Alan says to Palomas, first of all, you're quite intelligent. Do you know anything about magic stones? She says, yes, I know. Magic stones are very rare things. They are found near the heart of any monster and are used to power any tool. Generally, D and C rank magic stones are quite necessary, but E rank magic stones are just garbage. And even E rank magic stones, you can find them around your house. Just like that, Alan had an idea. And now, after some time, he had collected a lot of magic stones. He finally made several E rank summons available there, and now he decides to try out their abilities. But suddenly a boar monster comes and attacks him. His grass-type monster named Banley heals him, and Papillon, a butterfly, debuffs him, and Tama destroys it in no time. But that wasn't enough, as another boar monster comes and attacks him. It was about to finish Alan off, but then another monster named Wally knocks it unconscious. But it was all just a dream. Now Alan summons all his summons there, and now he has several E-rank summons available. Any insects are used for debuffs, beasts are used for offense, birds are used for defense. Glass-type are used for healing, and Rock-type Pokémon are used for defense. And over the past 7 years, Alan has learned a lot about summoners. But now his only goal is to become the most powerful summoner in the entire world. Summoners have immense power, even more powerful than demon lords. The next day, the village chief calls Alan, his father, and Gerda for a serious discussion. He explains that an important noble will be visiting the village around the middle of next month. This noble is extremely high-ranking and unpredictable. He has suddenly demanded that the village hunt and deliver 20 boars as proof of their progress. At first, the request sounds unreasonable. 20 boars is far more than what a normal village can handle. However, the village chief explains that the noble does not only want the results. He wants to see with his own eyes how the village has improved and how they manage their hunting. The problem is not only the hunting itself. The noble also wants someone to guide and accompany him during his visit. This includes attending him from the dinner the night before, explaining village matters, and acting as a proper host. The village chief admits that neither he nor Alan's father is suitable for this role. They lack the calm manners and speaking ability needed to deal with such an important guest. The village chief then proposes Alan for the job. At first, it sounds like he is trying to bribe Alan with food and favors, but he quickly clarifies that this is not the case. He sincerely believes Alan is capable. Last year's successful hunt was largely due to Alan's ideas and planning. Because of that, the chief thinks Alan can handle this responsibility. Alan hesitates. He admits honestly that he has no interest in nobles. However, he also realizes that if he stays in the village forever, his world will never expand. There is also another reason. If he does well, this could open a path for him to become a common citizen, which would change his future completely. Alan's father tells him that he does not have to accept if he does not want to. Still, after thinking carefully, Alan makes his decision. He agrees to become the noble's guide. At that moment, Alan feels strange but calm. His heart beats quietly as if he is floating in a dream. Then the day comes when the noble arrives. He is Baron Granvelle, the ruler of the land. The village welcomes him with respect and formality. The Baron praises the village for its success, stating that in the 15 years since the Land Development Order was issued, this village has achieved remarkable results compared to others. The village chief apologizes for the difficult boar request, but the Baron explains that it was not entirely his choice. The order came from above, connected to religious authority and royal pressure. Even he could not refuse. During the dinner, the Baron's daughter tastes the meat and praises it enthusiastically, saying it is delicious. The Baron asks what kind of meat it is. Then Alan explains that it is alpha boar meat, hunted just the day before. The chest and liver were carefully prepared and seasoned to bring out the flavor. The Baron is impressed. Then the Baron notices Alan. He recognizes his black hair and black eyes and suddenly remembers someone from the past. Alan greets the Knight Commander respectfully and informs him that he will guide tomorrow's hunt. The Knight Commander praises Alan's composure and asks about his background. When told that Alan comes from a farming family, the knight seems surprised but does not mock him. However, Baron's daughter named Milady makes a rude comment about Suffers being present. The Baron immediately shuts this down, reminding everyone that villagers are also citizens of his land. Then Milady apologizes to her dad. The Baron then turns his attention back to Alan and tells him that tomorrow's explanation must be clear and thorough. The goal of 20 boars is extremely difficult. If the village fails, the knights may need to step in. The Baron's daughter, however, is excited. She says she wants to see a great boar and watch the knights defeat it. She believes that as long as the method is understood, the knights can handle the rest. Alan responds calmly and confidently. He promises that the village will prove tomorrow that the goal can be achieved safely. The Baron orders his knights to protect the noble party carefully during the hunt. The knights acknowledge the order. The stage is now set. The noble and everyone arrives at the hunting site full of excitement. She says she is looking forward to what she is about to see. Alan politely guides her to a tall wooden watchtower built for observation. From the top, the view is excellent. The forest stretches out below them, wide and dense. Alan explains that this forest is the territory of the great boars. Hundreds of them live inside. Soon, movement appears. The hunt has begun. The noble notices the hunter's equipment and is surprised. The hunters are wearing armor. Alan explains that the armor was made using the skin, bones, and tusks of boars hunted last year. They had received permission to use these materials. Alan adds that his father, Rodden, was very grateful for that permission. The hunting plan is simple but smart. One group's job is to lure the boars out of the forest. Because speed is important, these hunters wear lighter equipment. It takes time, but eventually the boars respond. The noble calmly watches, impressed by the discipline. Alan also casually updates her on another matter, mentioning that an instructor for academy entrance preparation will be sent in 2 years, as promised. This confirms that the village is now being treated seriously by the authorities. Suddenly, the first great boar appears. Alan explains the formation. The shield bearers stop the boar's charge head-on. Their shields are reinforced with the toughest boar hide, especially on the back. The spear unit, made up mostly of newer hunters, attacks from behind. Their armor protects their backs so they will not be injured by allies during the fight. The spears strike the boar's neck. It is a vital point. The boar collapses. Milady claps, seeing this, get impressed. Even though these men are not knights, she admits they fight like true warriors. The knight commander agrees. He says that with this level of skill there should be no problems. Then another boar appears, then another. The knights prepare to step in, but Alan stops them politely. He explains that help is not needed. The hunting team has trained for this. However, the hunt is not over yet. Rodin gives orders calmly, splitting the team into 2 groups and reminding them of the basics: never leave an enemy alive. Alan reflects internally. This is how hunting should work. In the past, the village could not do this. For more than 10 years, they lacked equipment and strategy. 60% of their meat went to taxes, and the rest barely supported daily life. They could only afford to replace simple spears. But now it is different. With proper tactics, efficiency improves. With efficiency comes spare resources. Those resources allow better equipment. Better equipment leads to even greater efficiency. This is the most basic principle of growth, and the village has finally learned it. Soon, 3 more boars are defeated. One man admits it was scary fighting 2 at once, but they managed. Alan calmly corrects the count. 10 boars remain. 7 have already been defeated before the noble's arrival. The goal of 20 is well within reach. The knight commander admits that the knights will not be needed. Alan says his father and the others will be very happy to hear that. Then Alan makes 2 requests. The first request is permission to create 2 more large shields using boar materials to prepare for next year's hunts. The noble immediately approves. The second request is more unusual. Alan asks for permission to trade and distribute alcohol, including allowing its circulation among lower-class villagers. The noble questions this. Alan explains calmly. As boar hunting increases, meat will flood the village and lose value. By trading meat for alcohol from outside regions, they can prevent price collapse. The knight commander quickly understands the deeper reason. Hunting is dangerous. Alcohol helps maintain morale. Alan confirms that this is exactly what his father intended. The noble then personally praises Alan. He says Alan's guidance today was excellent. Alan thanks him politely. After that, Milady teases Alan lightly, telling him not to get full of himself just because he was praised. The group prepares to leave. Alan watches the Milady depart and quietly thinks that she seems fragile and distant, someone from a completely different world. He assumes they will never meet again. Then the day of reward comes. The Lord announces that he has witnessed everything. The village's contribution is undeniable. A reward must be given. Alan briefly hopes it might be money. Instead, the reward is far greater. The Lord declares that Alan, his family, and the others involved are officially granted commoner status. No longer bound as lower-class villagers, they are now legally free. Alan and his family bow repeatedly, overwhelmed with gratitude. Alan feels pure joy. Now he can finally leave the village freely. His future has opened. The Lord also declares that any villager who has participated in hunts for over 10 years will be given the same choice. Become a commoner or remain as they are. Everything is proceeding smoothly. Then a royal messenger arrives. The king himself has taken notice of the village. He has called it a model settlement for the kingdom. He wants to know how the great boar hunting began. The Lord asks for the story. Rodin hesitates. It is painful to tell. Then Gerda asks for permission to speak instead. 13 years ago in spring, around 100 poor villagers came to this land to develop it. They spent half a year clearing the forest. Just as winter approached, disaster struck. A great boar attacked them. It destroyed their stored wheat and food reserves. These people had already left villages where they were starving. They could not return. That was when Rodin stepped forward. With no proper weapons, armor, or strategy, the men fought together. Using nothing but courage and desperation, they began the long path that eventually led to today. The foundation of everything was built on survival. And now, at last, that struggle is being rewarded. Gerda finishes telling the story of the village's past. Back then, after everything they had lost, the villagers managed to kill only one great boar. It was not something to boast about, but it was still an achievement. They worked together and survived. However, the victory came at a terrible cost. One man died. After the boar was defeated, the surviving villagers were healed as if they had passed some kind of divine trial. Their wounds closed and their strength returned. But the man who died could not endure it. He never came back. Alan realizes something important. His father, Rodin, has always protected the villagers so fiercely because that fallen man reminded him of a dear friend he lost long ago. Rodin has never blamed anyone, not even himself, but the pain never left him. Then Noble apologizes for making everyone remember such a painful past. The noble responds firmly. He says Rodin should not feel guilty. Yes, there was sacrifice, but the village exists and thrives because of Rodin's decision back then. Without it, everything would have ended. Then the noble says something unexpected. He decides to give another reward, not only for the village, but for Rodin's past courage as a young man. He tells Rodin not to hold back and to ask for anything. Alan gets excited internally, thinking this is a bonus event. He assumes it will end simply, but Rodin surprises everyone. Rodin bows deeply and makes a serious request. He asks if his son Alan can be allowed to work in the noble's household. Any job is fine, errand boy, servant, anything. Rodin says Alan is smart and capable and will be useful. Alan panics. This is not what he expected at all. He tries to object, but everything moves too fast. The noble considers it carefully, then he declares something even bigger. Alan will not be a mere servant. Alan will be taken in as a retainer of the Granville family, someone raised and trained under the noble house itself. Alan is stunned. He asks if this is really true. The noble's daughter Milady reacts strongly, shocked that a village boy would come live in their mansion. Alan's father is overwhelmed. Alan himself tries to think of reasons to refuse, but realizes there is no way to reject such an offer. This is not a trap. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and so the decision is made. After that, the preparation happens quickly. Alan's mother helps him change into proper clothes. She smiles and says they suit him well. Alan thanks her quietly. He says goodbye to everyone. Then he promises Krina they will play again someday. He encourages them to grow strong and protect the family. To the villagers, he thanks them for everything they have done for him. Gerda's wife tearfully tells him she was the one who helped deliver him when he was born. Alan promises to live well. Then Dagora comes and hands him a small gift and says, "Don't forget us." After that, Alan's family goes to drop him off. The noble's carriage is ready. As Alan boards it, he looks back one last time. His family tells him that if things ever become too hard, he can always come home. Alan answers simply, "I'm going now." As the village fades into the distance, Alan's heart fills with conflicting emotions. Why does leaving the people you love hurt so much? Why does the fear of losing them grow stronger the more you cherish them? Even so, Alan makes a vow. No matter how painful it becomes, he wants to grow stronger. Then we are shown that they had reached the noble mansion. Then we are shown that Cecile speaks proudly and confidently. She tells Alan to stand properly and reminds him that he belongs to her household. Then she orders him to go to the market and buy fruit for her. While talking, she mentions magical technology like magic-powered rail lines and devices that move using magical energy. The boy is surprised. In his old village, he only saw simple magic tools, like a magic clock. Seeing advanced magical transportation shows how different the city is from the countryside. The gap between his old life and this new world feels very clear. He then wakes up fully in his small servant room. The room is narrow and simple, very different from the luxurious areas of the mansion. He greets the other servants politely. During this time, we learn about the servant ranking system. High-ranking servants such as butlers, housekeepers, stewards, and chefs are treated as family members. Even lower-ranking servants like drivers, gardeners, and maids are considered part of the household. But simple errand boys are not counted as family. When he realizes that he is actually treated as part of the household, he feels deeply grateful. The Baron accepted him into the family circle. For someone from a poor background, this means a lot. It shows the Baron is kind and fair. During breakfast, he notices something interesting. Even though they are nobles, the food is simple. There is no luxurious feast. This tells us that the Baron is careful with money and lives modestly. The noble lady praises him for improving in his duties. Then the topic shifts to talent. In this world, people are born with special talents. Some have talent for magic, some have talent for swordsmanship. Cecile says she has magical talent and her brother is skilled with the sword. But when it comes to Alan, he is labeled as having no talent. The father explains that talented children go to the Academy City, while those without talent attend the Noble Institute. The boy listens quietly. Even though everyone believes he lacks talent, he does not show anger or sadness. Instead, he stays calm and thoughtful. Later, he goes to the Adventurers Guild. He politely asks if he can register as an adventurer. They tell him he is only 8 years old and must wait until he is 12. Even though they try to send him away, he keeps asking questions. He studies the monster hunt request papers carefully. He notices that some requests do not list specific locations. Here a man named Raven explains that weak monsters are common everywhere outside the city. He continues asking about monster ranks. Raven explains that the farther you travel from the city, the stronger the monsters become. Near the White Dragon mountain range, extremely powerful monsters gather. He hears about a white dragon that no one has defeated. The reward is 200 gold coins, but it is too fast and too strong. That mountain also contains valuable mithril mines. Mithril is worth an enormous amount of money, which is why the reward keeps increasing year after year. Alan gathers all this information quietly. His mind is working carefully. Eventually, he leaves the guild with a clear plan. When he finally gets one day off, he is extremely excited. He uses a special pass to leave the city. He knows that if he goes too far, the monsters will be too strong. So he decides to stay within 10 kilometers and target D-rank monsters. Now his hidden ability appears. He can summon creatures. First, he summons hawks. The hawk has high intelligence, so it understands detailed instructions. He commands it to scout the area and search for monsters. Then he summons another creature with low intelligence. This one cannot understand words well. Through this, he learns that intelligence affects how well a summon can follow orders. He continues testing. He discovers that he can summon creatures anywhere within 50 meters. He begins hunting goblins and snow rabbits. One of his summons, Ajaha, has a special ability that causes enemies to fall asleep. Against goblins, the sleep effect works about 80% of the time. This makes battles much easier. As he fights, he realizes something important. Defeating many weak monsters gives better experience over time than fighting one strong monster. Efficiency is everything. By the end of the day, he defeats 5 snow rabbits and 80 goblins. His experience increases greatly and his level rises. Even though the world believes he has no talent, he secretly holds a powerful summoning ability. Instead of complaining, he chooses to grow quietly. Step by step, he is building strength in secret, preparing for a future where he will no longer be underestimated. Then he is thinking carefully about his summoning system. He realizes that rank matters. A B-rank magic stone cannot create an E-rank summon, and the opposite is also impossible. That means he must manage his resources wisely. Sometimes weak summons are still necessary, so he cannot just aim for high-rank creatures all the time. Strategy is important. After that, night falls, but he keeps hunting. He jokes that the night is still long. Then he notices something serious. His hawk summon cannot see well in the dark. Even though it is a magical creature, it is still a bird. Suddenly he understands the danger. He relied on the hawk to guide him back home. If the hawk cannot see, that means he might be lost. For a moment he panics, realizing how risky solo hunting at night can be. After several hunts, his level reaches 12. He keeps following a simple path. Gain experience by hunting monsters, collect magic stones, improve equipment, repeat. It is the classic growth method, slow but steady. One day the Baron calls him. The Baron praises his work. The head butler and other senior servants reported that he works very hard. But the Baron has noticed something. On his days off, he leaves early in the morning and returns late at night. The Baron is not angry, just concerned. Instead of lying, Alan answers honestly. He says he hunts monsters outside the city. He explains that he is the son of a hunter and hunting is in his blood. The Baron understands. Then he asks what he does with the snow rabbits he hunts. The Baron assumes he sells them secretly. Selling meat carelessly could cause rumors. Instead, the Baron makes him an offer. The Granville family will officially buy 1 snow rabbit for 1 silver coin. This way, he can earn money safely without suspicion. He feels grateful. Now he can hunt more freely. Later, while hunting goblins, something unexpected happens. His summon detects goblins farther than the 3-kilometer range he ordered. They are moving fast. Something is wrong. Then he sees them. 3 adventurers from the guild are being attacked by goblins. One of them is badly injured. He cannot summon creatures openly in front of people. That would expose his secret. So he decides to fight directly. His level is 12. With blessings, his attack and speed stats are over 300. Even without summons, he believes he can handle B-rank threats. He jumps into battle and defeats the goblins himself. The adventurers are seriously wounded. A girl named Milsai has no magic power left to heal. They will not survive the trip back to town. But Alan decides to use a special item, a powerful healing herb created using his summon's special skill. It is called the Life Grass. It restores a fixed amount of health. The injured man, Raven, recovers quickly. Earlier, Gerda had used a rare flower called Muller's Flower to heal Alan's father Rodden, but that took over a month. Now Raven recovers much faster. He realizes something important. Muller's Flower heals based on a percentage of total strength, while Life Grass restores a fixed value instantly. That means different healing types exist, percentage healing and fixed healing. The adventurers are grateful and offer him a reward. He refuses money but asks for something specific, 100 E-rank magic stones. For normal people, E-rank stones are almost worthless, but for a summoner, they are treasure. They agree. After they leave, he questions his summon hawk. Why did it ignore his order to stay within 3 kilometers? The hawk led him to the injured adventurers on its own. That means the hawk has self-awareness. It acted on compassion, not pure command. He realizes something shocking. His summons hawk are not just tools, they have will. They can choose. Instead of being angry, he gently tells the hawk he will think more carefully about future orders. He thanks it. A bond is forming between him and his summoned hawk. Back at the mansion, daily life continues. The noble girl Cecile struggles while practicing cooking. She is making jam to bake cookies. When Alan asked why, she shyly admits her older brother Mihai is returning next spring. She wants to bake delicious cookies for him. Her tough attitude hides a soft heart. But just then she imbalances and falls down. This is where the episode ends.